We're live.
For real.
We are live.
That was very good. Excited. See you all soon. Hello, folks. I wasn't able to be here for last week's show, but did watch the replay. Looking forward to today's discussion. Well, good. Gary? Wait, is your name Gary? Or are you a fan of Gary 24? You don't have to answer that. But anyway, welcome back to another Bad Batch live stream. We're going to be talking about The Bad Batch, Season 3, Episode 5 today. And Justin, oh, your names are flipped. I'm like, wait, you're James.
I'm still James today.
James.
I got all the percussion.
is back.
James has got all the synth stuff today.
Electronics
so.
today, yeah. That's right.
Oh my God. I'm sorry about that. Okay, yes. So we're going to talk about The Bad Batch, Episode 5. Hello, Matthew. Hello, James. Hello, Jeannie. What did you all think? Just a non-helpful, open-ended question.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, what's something that stood out?
I'm going to talk about it in a bit, or like I'm sure we'll talk about it a bunch. I liked the evolution of Crosshair's music throughout this entire episode. It kind of was the grounding force, I feel like, between a lot of stuff. So I thought that was really, really cool how we got to hear that theme, which we've been developing since season 1 in new ways, actually. At least one very, very interestingly new way this episode. So I really enjoyed that.
Oh, I'm curious which way you're thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that theme ended up being, the whole episode was almost just a theme and variations on that theme.
Totally.
And it reminded me of something like as an episode, it was like the classic reference. It would be like Ravel's Bolero piece, where it's just the same thing.
Yeah.
Evolving and then like landing. And I feel like that's kind of what happened. And like things, like the story had a nice resolve. It definitely wasn't kind of an open-ended type of thing. It was like, we've got these themes and they often land both harmonically and everything felt like an arrival, a return, harkening to the name of the episode.
I'm curious, people in chat, can you let us know if you're familiar with Ravel's Bolero? Don't want to assume the knowledge, but then I'll just say that Bolero is... Oh, James, can you do the drum part?
Oh.
Yeah.
We just like to sing through the entire piece.
For my undergrad musicianship class, as a test, I had to clap the rhythm and sing the melody on top of it. That was, as a young freshman, was like, whoo.
Wow, that's cool.
Having only played one note at a time for like 12 years, now having to do like two things at once was like wild for a flute player like me.
For sure.
Yeah, so Matthew is saying that he wasn't familiar with it, but turns out just wasn't familiar with the name, and I believe that because it's like almost, it's not quite to the level of Beethoven's Fifth, but it is used in a lot of things, and it is highly recognizable and highly repetitive, so easy to remember. And hopefully no one here got caught in this, but there was kind of annoying Ravel Bolero discourse on Twitter last month.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
On like classical music Twitter. Yeah.
What was it?
Give us the cheese, man.
Like people being like, it's overrated, and people being like, it's this. Like, just I don't know, just discussing the merits of it once again. Like, oh, it's overrated,
It's
it's
so
so
funny.
repetitive. Like, yes, okay. I think
so
it's pretty
funny.
cool. I like it.
There's a great NPR thing on it, linking it to this painting, kind of comparing it to this one painting and going back to a type of obsessive mental state that Ravel was believed to have had, and this other painter had, and made a painting based on the piece. It was very interesting. Listen to it sometimes. Look, I don't know, remember the title or like any of the names associated with it. But Bolero NPR painting, if you look it up, there's some really interesting things about it.
Huh.
Nice.
I'm not sure if this is like true, but I feel like I've heard some type of. I'm not sure. There was another composer, a contemporary of Ravel's, that like. Yeah, I feel like there was somebody had told me that somebody bet Ravel that he couldn't write a piece that only had one harmonic, like one chord change, basically, you know, one chord the whole piece, and he took it as a challenge, and that's what he came up with. But
That's great.
So when Christina was saying that the evolution of the Crosshair theme was almost like Bolero, you're basically saying that this episode repeated Crosshair's theme over and over, but with like little variations.
Kind of like episode 1 of the season, or it was episode 1 where it had that the clicking talk clock. Oof.
Oh, the
English.
Heartbeat, or
The theme that we heard over and over again for every day.
Oh yeah.
Omega's routine
In the cell.
That's another good example of that.
could you could we remind ourselves what Crosshair's theme is, real quick? Is there
Yeah. Etc. You know what we're talking. Yeah.
For and just keep
Yeah.
It's very romantic.
Yeah. But it did start just as that in season 1. That minor 7th.
Yeah, I remember
Love
you were like,
minor
I think
seventh.
that's
I did.
Crosshair's theme.
I did, and I said that when it was way too early to say that. But sometimes your guesses are just right. I think it was just.
Nailed it.
Thank you.
the Kiners heard you and were
They
like,
heard
we gotta
me.
develop this. We gotta develop this.
That's it.
2 notes. We need more.
That's what happened. Definitely what happened. James, any percussion coolness stick out to you?
I mean, no. Did y'all hear any particularly like noticeable or notable percussion moments? I was really searching. I didn't note any on my end.
I did, but it was like a timpani moment.
Okay, where was that?
That was good question. It was like, it wasn't like last week when you weren't here. There were some. Okay, on the snowy planet, it was like going like.
Was it the part of the episode that was on the snowy planet?
It was like
Snow
between
Dune.
8 and 9. There was like
between 8 minutes and
no.
20 minutes.
Yeah, there were some timpani
That's
hits.
interesting.
Like, boom, 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 boom.
Interesting.
Yeah. But other than that, I also didn't recognize too many interesting percussion things in this
Not
episode.
too much. There was some kind of standard kind of drummy stuff during some of the exciting moments later on when they're fleeing from that monster.
Yes.
Do we know the species of the beast?
Worm. Just
The
that
caption
they kept
spelled
calling
it-
it a worm.
Yeah.
A worm, but like
WYRM.
Oh.
No.
I'm watching Dune right now. Kind
I
of
was gonna
rewatching.
Really?
I'm rewatching Dune, and so I can go watch the new one. And so I'm seeing worms everywhere right now.
Yeah.
So very Dune-y for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Snow
Yeah.
Dune.
Snow Dune, exactly.
Well, before we jump into music, can we talk about the worm sound? What?
Yeah, was
Yeah.
That was such a weird sound. It was like, it was more complex. It was more hoarse sounding. Like, it was a dirtier sound than I'm used
Yeah.
to. Like, it sounded like it was almost like in distress or like wheezing or something. I don't know. What did you all think?
Yeah.
What did you think of the worm sound design, chat?
It had a
I see what you're getting at with, like, it was in distress, like when the sensor beacons were turned on. I mean, I really felt for it. It was like, it sounded like I've been hungry for months, and now there's this awful sound again. Or maybe not even hungry. Like, I don't know. It was cute.
Yeah.
I noted a worm roar at 21 minutes.
It reminds me so much of another particular creature that I can't put my finger on, because it's got that like kind of sound to it, you know? It's got like a squeal to it, and I'm wondering, what am I thinking of? It sounds like
From Star Wars?
it might be from Star Wars, but maybe not. Maybe it's just some other fictional character, or a fictional monster. But it just has like or maybe it's like the Jurassic Park dinosaurs or something like that. It sounds.
Well,
maybe it
we'll
sounds
get to
like
that.
It's got that kind of like pteranodon screech to it.
Yeah,
The-
right.
The flying dinosaur screech to it, kind of a thing, and it's got that
Right.
again, that kind of like guttural, chuggy, kind of deep, rumbly feeling to it. It's interesting because it felt like seeing the worm and hearing the worm were very two different experiences.
Yes.
I imagined the worm to like be deeper, like
Yeah.
more
Yes.
massive than like, I don't want to say it was like a generic creature roar, or like, because I know a lot of great work went into that sound design, but it felt like if you would have like pitch shifted it down or added one of those really, really cool devices called a subharmonic oscillator to it, which they probably did, and really like, subharmonic oscillators, everybody, are these devices that actually read the music, like listen to the frequencies in the music that you're giving it, and then generates lower frequencies, low tones, based on those frequencies, kind of thing. So if I give you A440, it's gonna pop out an octave down and 220 hertz and something even lower. Famously used for Jabba the Hutt's voice. We've mentioned it in a few different couple. I don't know if it was Bad Batch. We mentioned it in another show that they distinctly used. I think it was.
Oh, was
Boba
it
Fett.
Boba Fett? Was it the
think
mayor's voice or whatever?
Yeah, it was the mayor's voice. It was the subharmonic oscillator thing. It just felt like if they would have pitched the worm down a little bit, it would have been instead of you
Right.
know, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I think it sounded like it was wheezing to me, because it sounded like its full sound probably wasn't coming out. Like it seemed obstructed in there. I don't know. Like, I guess the sound like splattered more to me.
Interesting.
It sounded like it was very like this rather than this.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah, like there was a lot going on. It was like multiphonics, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, actually.
Yeah.
A lot of combinations of things. Yeah, you'll hear that a lot.
Yeah, I
And
can't
if
put
anyone's
my-
curious, the frequency to get rid of worms in your snow palace, your snow base, is 8,550 hertz. That's the frequency. I have it tuned up, but I'm kind of scared to play it. So it's pretty up there. It's great. And for a reference, everybody, the human hearing goes from very generally speaking, human hearing goes from about 20 hertz, if you're lucky, which is very, very low, to about 20,000 hertz, which is incredibly high to the point where you don't even realize it's happening sometimes.
Right.
And 8,000, yeah, we've got a ways to go until we hit 20,000, but that's still pretty high. Actually, you know what? Heck with it. Hold on.
Yes.
Hold on. Forgive me, everybody. Okay, I'm gonna do this slowly.
Oh, are you gonna do the harmonic, the sweep?
Not this. Well, we can do the sweep.
That might hurt people's ears.
Well, let's not do that. But this should be the frequency. Okay, I'm gonna do this slowly. You yell at me when it's too much.
Oh. Okay.
Y'all hear that?
Yes.
Okay, it's way up there. Your laptops might not like that if you're just listening. If you have headphones, that's why I did it very, very slowly. Yeah, but if we were... Okay, forgive me again.
Wait, are you about to do it again? Let's give some warning.
I'm going to do it again. Everyone prepare. But I'm going to also sweep down so you can hear kind of what I'm talking about here. So here it is. Are we okay?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, I am.
Okay.
I don't know about everyone else.
If I come over to Shelly over here. So that's like 20 hertz. That's way down there.
It's so soft.
It's so soft.
I mean, exactly. I know you had to keep it soft so that the top one wouldn't be too piercing.
And then going back up. To the point where we don't need it anymore. The reason why those lower frequencies are so much... sorry, worms in the audience. Thank you, lower frequencies are in sound waves are longer, like physically distance longer in the air. So if you're not at the right distance or have the right kind of amplification, you can't hear them, which is why we have speakers called subwoofers, which are, if you like going to live concerts, those are the speakers that like you feel more your body more than just your ears, kind of a thing. And higher frequencies travel faster and therefore sound much louder, even if they are at theoretically the same scientific decibel. Fun fact, this is why babies can be heard over everything when they scream and cry, because they actually have a frequency range in their cry that just pierces. And we lose this ability as we grow older. I always thought that was a kind of a cool. So it's not, if you can't stand the sound of children screaming or crying, it's not just because it's obnoxious, it's because it's scientifically obnoxious on purpose.
Yeah. They're meant to be heard.
It's meant to be heard.
Yeah.
So if you need to get rid of your worms, 8,550, that's the best I was able to kind of like pin it on, that kind of thing.
Oh, good. This is very useful information. Thank you, James. Thank you, Justin.
There's a business model proposal here of sonic pest control.
I'm sure that's already a thing, right?
Oh, very much. Mosquitoes.
Yeah. Mosquito stuff.
Things like that. Dogs, unfortunately. There's a way, instead of, they use this for perimeter fences for certain dogs and other breeds of animals to either keep them away or keep them in and stuff like that.
I didn't realize that.
Right.
Justin, you can turn your volume a little bit up now that you're not doing the...
Definitely. 1 second.
So, yeah, the worm thing aside, or the worm sound thing aside, like there was something also about the worm visually that I don't understand it yet. Like I never felt like I got a good look at its face. I don't know. Anyway, not a huge deal.
Yeah, the only real frontal shot of it was when Crosshair was trying to shoot it. But that shot was like more about Crosshair's hand not doing what he wants it to do.
Yeah. Speaking of Crosshair's hand, what do you think's
Yeah.
going on there?
Do you think it's Frostbite from that same mission when he was forced to? That's the only connection I made. That's what I assumed it was. But
Like
I'm
from last,
wondering if you guys picked up on anything else.
like from last season?
Yeah, from the very same season where he was on this planet, and he had to, and I feel like I remember him kind of realizing, like, okay, I'm experiencing frostbite, but I also, and what was the name of that clone?
The clone?
Hmm.
Which
His
clone?
friend,
Oh, I don't remember.
Crosshair's good friend
The one who
from
died?
the Ice World.
I don't remember. But PTSD, I'm guessing from being in prison and all the crap they put him through. It could be so many things. And I'm curious if they're going to explicitly mention it or if they'll have some sort of I'm curious kind of how that develops, you know,
Right.
because he is less effective now at his job, at being a good soldier. And as he's no longer with the Empire and as he is now, back with the Bad Batch, I bet he's kind of struggling to figure out what his role is anywhere.
Yeah, I had that. There was a moment where Hunter kind of calls him out in some way where he was like, "Did you betray the Empire like the same way that you betrayed us?" Right? And I found that, I mean, that's in many ways like that. That's what Crosshair's like main, what's the word, motivation or think something that he held really important was like being a good soldier, right? Like we found out that it wasn't even the chip that was making him. That's fun. It wasn't the chip that was making him, stay with the Empire. He actually just like wanted to follow the rules and be a good soldier, right? And he believed in order in that way, right? Like that's seemingly what that seemed to be a big part, right, of what his kind of his motivation. So I think Hunter calling him out like this is a little bit like he kind of doesn't know what he's doing because he can't win either way. He betrayed the Bad Batch, but then he also betrayed the other group that he was kind of loyal to. So now, yeah, he feels pretty. It seems like he feels pretty lost. And I think that this experience through bonding through the group through this kind of traumatic experience here, I think was probably pretty important for his journey. So.
Yeah, Crosshair has like some obvious attachment issues
Yes.
with his family, his various families and groups that he's belonged to, eventually rejecting him or, things
Yes.
not going well. So I think this was also, and we were talking last week about how Omega and their whole prison breakout was probably also did a lot for him. Like Omega's presence in the cell, like, she was determined to get him out no matter what, even despite their past. And I feel like that's been really healing for him in a way, or, at least in the right direction.
Can someone remind me? He mentioned basically last season that he sent a signal to the batch. I don't remember because I didn't remember the last season. He was like, "I'm the one that sent the signal for you to find Omega, and then you failed her or something like that." Can someone remind me what the plot point was from that last semester? I don't remember what happened.
You said semester. It was funny.
I said last semester.
Yeah.
I'm such a teacher. Last season. That's so funny. During the fall Bad Batch semester. Sorry, I'm literally in a school right now, so.
I actually did not recall what Crosshair was talking about there.
Right, I don't
Yeah.
either. Maybe someone
Christina,
in the chat if you can remind us. Or,
Christina's hand is raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, I
What
always
happened last
watch
semester?
the previous episodes. It was the episode where he is already in present. I think already imprisoned by Hemlock, and he sends out like a plan. He goes and breaks into the communication booth and sends out like I think it was Plan 99. He just sends out a code on
Oh,
his personal frequency that he used to use.
So that's not something that
And
happened
yeah,
last season.
exactly.
It's something happened a couple episodes ago, I mean.
Yeah, I think it was.
so Jeannie says when he stunned Emery and wasn't trying to escape,
Hmm.
but sent a message to the batch to warn them that the baddies were after Omega. Oh, okay. So, okay. So he meant in the time that elapsed from that episode to this episode. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chad.
Wasn't that
Thanks,
that
Matthew.
one protocol he mentioned?
Okay.
Protocol
Plan 99. I thought Plan 99 was Tech
99.
sacrificing himself.
Oh, I thought, didn't he say it though? I thought Crosshair said it.
Oh, I don't remember.
I thought he said something.
Okay.
Sorry,
Anyway,
So this
everybody,
is
I
he
last
had to-
got
season.
cast by Hemlock.
Yeah.
Okay.
What did I miss? I'm so sorry.
James said last semester instead of last season.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Feels like it.
So, okay. Anyone have any examples to start out with?
Yeah.
Cool.
You all know where this one is.
So Justin's going to play something. We're going to guess where it came from. Yay! I like when you play flute.
So
Lovely.
Any guesses?
From the beginning.
The very first thing.
It's the
Happy
worm
flute
theme,
morning
obviously.
music.
That's a good
That is-
reference, actually. you play it?
Morning. Oh, jeez. I think so.
It's from Grieg's Peer Gynt Suite.
Yeah,
That's
it
the
just
string
goes,
part.
"Ah."
Those are the
Peer-
cellos.
similar.
Peer Gynt, by
Grieg.
Grieg.
Mm-hmm.
Grieg.
Yep. Lots of good ones in there. Pabu, says Jeannie. They're on Pabu there, right? Yeah. Yeah, they are. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they wake up, and she's got her doll, and she's happy and rested,
Yeah.
and woodwinds
Wasn't that
and
nice?
warmth, and
Woodwinds
it's a
and
nice
warmth.
little- Woodwinds and
The
warmth.
sun is shining.
Can you play
This
it again?
is the last season, right? This is
Yeah.
the
Yes, it's the last season.
of the show. Yeah, I had a nice. This was a nice setting of like togetherness, and I think we should cherish it while we have it because I feel like
Things are
I
probably.
feel like I think stuff's
Everything's
gonna hit the.
go wrong.
Yeah.
I really think so.
Okay, it was Plan
Yeah.
88, by the way, when Crosshair contacted the others. I think Plan
Plan
99
88.
was the tech death, I think.
That's right.
Can you play it again, Justin, so we can, so I can mention
Yeah.
something with the harmony? Nice. So the very first bit is very Lydian. What is it? Can you just play the beginning?
Yeah, it's a C, B, C, E.
A little bit more. Okay.
Yeah.
So those two things, you're going from C major to D major. So you're doing a raised fourth instead of you're going. So, which is, it's the Lydian mode, and that is it's used a lot in this episode, actually. It tends to be used, for like youth and optimism and just like, hope and stuff. Like,
Yep.
and
Oh, Lydian. Good old Lydian mode.
and the Jurassic Park, right? Wait, no, E.T. Wait, what is this?
E.T.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Little Mermaid, part of your world. Yeah. So, and also.
Uplifting, hopeful.
Okay, wait. There's one more. How does it go? Oh my God. No, my mind's blanking. It's fine. That's enough examples.
Lydian mode and movie scores are like best friends. I had a professor that used to hate the Lydian mode. They would jokingly, of course, ban their students from ever writing anything in Lydian because he hated it so much. He thought it was the cheesiest thing and the biggest cop out. But I disagree. I love Lydian.
I mean, it always depends on how it's used. Like, you can't really avoid it forever.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is that we like to talk about how we have various perceptions of certain harmonies and keys and notes based on, how we grew up, where we grew up, what we grew up watching and associating things like that. And just as a very basic example, you hear this mode, which we know as the Lydian mode, in so many other kinds of music, and it doesn't at all give off the same vibes. I'm not sure what the exact scale in North Indian music is, but I do know that this mode, in comparison, is used a lot, and it's wonderful in a lot of North Indian raga.
That's cool. I didn't know that. The opening was a nice comparison, both musically and color scheme, when it opens with Omega and Jill, to when it opens with Omega and Jill. Yeah, that's a good contrast between those openings. It was episode 14, season 2, that Crosshair warns them. The toxin comes out, knocking out Crosshair that Hemlock was immune to. Okay, thank you. Cool. And then we have, in season 1 and 2, Crosshair theme used to have a dark percussive bass sound in minor seventh.
I like noting the change in the Crosshair theme from season to season. This is for sure the most positively we've heard it before.
Yeah, can you say more about that? Like why you think that? What was positive?
Well, I guess I could connect what is positive about it?
Or Justin, you had stuff to say, you can chime in.
Instead of having kind of a low, grumbly, ominous feel, it has more of a romantic, flourishing, growing feel. And maybe that connects to the Lydian mode concept that you were just talking about. I mean, maybe I think that a lot of times in this episode we hear whatever the melody is, which is usually Crosshair's theme, being supported by some kind of, I mean, all of the supporting harmonies more or less are consonant. There's not a lot of real dissonance here. It's mostly just like nice, pretty intervals followed by more nice, pretty intervals in a very safe feeling, predictable feeling way. It's just like, we're going to hold these notes for a while, we're going to keep, and then they're going to change a bit, but there's not a lot of surprises or and I don't mean surprises like you can't be surprised, just there's not a lot of purposeful scare moment. Like
it's not trying to. I think what you're saying about the lack of dissonance in the harmonies, like in the chords surrounding Crosshair's theme, is I find that notable as well, because as Lisa was saying, not only did there used to be a dark percussive bass sound in the minor seventh, but there was also a lot of like really crunchy synth stuff and lots of, I don't know, like underlying tension, I guess. And here, like you said, Christina, it was much more romantic.
It was. Those crunchy synth things turned into, I wrote the word spinning a bunch of times. There were tons of like pretty spinning chords, like kind of you could get this sense of, it wasn't quite what I wanted to do with my voice, but yeah, something for, but yeah, I think that was notable.
Mm-hmm.
They're softening Crosshair in more ways than one, right?
Yeah.
Like they're, like they're as a character, and it's interesting to say. I mean, when he saw, what did he say to Echo when he first saw him in this episode? He was like, "You don't have a hug for me," or something like that.
Yeah.
Which it was actually surprising to hear. Like, it seemed like a little bit more lighthearted than I thought he might, because that's not something you might say if you're just completely angry at somebody. You might say that with a little bit of like a tongue in cheek, right? So it was. I found that interesting, and I just find his character development to be interesting. He's always been the most interesting character in this entire show to me, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah, me too.
Do we think, I got a question, this is kind of separate but kind of related, and I think it relates to like how his theme is being portrayed, which is like, do we think it's kind of like the Ben Solo question or the Darth Vader question, which is like, do you think he's like actually redeemable? Like in terms of has the things that he's done, are they too bad for him to be welcomed back or enjoy some form of what's the word of redemption and forgiveness? Or do you think what do we think as a group, like, or like as viewers, do we forgive him?
I'm going to pose that question. Everyone in chat, feel free to chime in. What do you all think?
Of course he's redeemable.
I think that too.
Does he even need to be redeemed? He was always good.
He's always good. He was like
Did bad things. He was always like
Yeah,
a,
and
I don't know.
Orders, and it wasn't his fault. He just was doing what he was told based on the inhibitor chip, right? That's a whole other dangerous conversation. But it's it's, I don't know, it's one of those weird ones, because then that just gets into like the morality of mankind and clone kind and star kind and
clone kind,
and stuff like that. Like, yes, as a character in our hearts and as the show can do it, I believe so. He can absolutely be redeemed, whether that ends up being him sacrificing himself at the end. That always seems to be the weird redemption
That's kind of more what I'm asking. Like, does he deserve to like live past this season? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
I feel like he's going to make, in this sense, in this conversation, we'll have to make some kind of massive sacrifice, being his life.
I kind of think so.
Okay, I'm going to ask two questions.
His hands,
separate questions.
His abilities, his eyes, it's like something huge, something incredibly precious to him, something that renders him to the point where he cannot do what he used to do.
Okay, I'm going to ask two questions, so don't mix them up. One of them is going to be, do you want Crosshair to die or have some sort of punishment at the end? And then the other one is, or sacrifice himself. And the other one is, do you think the showrunners will do that? So one is what you personally want, and question number two is,
really
do you
funny.
think it'll happen?
That's such a funny question. Like, do you want him to die or be punished?
Well, I think you started it, James.
That. I know. I just didn't ask it that directly.
Okay, question number one, and raise your hand. So raise your hand if you do think you do personally would like to see him sacrifice himself or something like that. Okay.
I'm not saying I'd like to see it.
Or
I'm just
like you think if you were writing the story, like you, I don't know.
Then I think that would make sense story wise, and in terms of, getting his comeuppance or whatever, or that would solidify his character and arc. Yeah,
So that's a yes for James. Justin?
Yes.
That's a no. I don't want him to die, just like I didn't want Tech to
Okay.
die.
Christina?
There are two parts of me. I mean, there's the part that like I don't want to see him die. I don't think he needs to experience punishment. Also, he clearly did time, and so then there's the other part that's like, oh, you've got feelings for him. So if he dies, you'll really feel bad about that, and it'll be an emotionally successful moment. So, I don't want it, but I can see that it would be effective.
So is that going to be a yes?
Yeah, I guess I feel pretty similarly to Christina, I think, which is like, I don't want to see that happen, but I think that it'll definitely move me,
Okay.
And I think for those reasons, which it'll be like, it kind of feels right. He's definitely hurt a lot of people, like his through his time in the Empire and through his own will. Like he removed the chip out of his head and was actively participating in fascism and genocide, like through his own decisions. And yeah, he was locked up in a mountain, hellscape for a significant amount of time. But to me, it does seem like, that's without being too crime and punishment here.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to be like, I don't really support the death penalty, but I in the purpose of a story, I think the fact that Darth Vader died is a good thing. You know what I mean? Like, I think as much as he redeemed himself, I think the fact that Vader was able to pass on, and that's probably a good thing. But I mean, anyway.
Which gets into the second question, Xanthi. I think,
Yeah.
yes,
So question number
they
2,
will.
and people in okay. So chat is chiming in too. Well,
Yeah, the chat has some good answers too.
my answer to question 1 is no. And then question number 2 is, do you think that they're going to do it? Which should be an easier prediction, I guess. I'll start. I don't think they'll do it.
Oh wow. So where is Crosshair like during, or do you think he ends up like during the,
I don't know.
in the future? Where does he end up?
Working at a bar, making weapons? I don't know. Not at the same time.
Farming.
I like the idea of Crosshair, who's sort of the least qualified to be a parent because he's the least emotionally available. I like the idea of someone like Wrecker sacrificing himself so that Crosshair can live. Even though that's horrible, that's the kind of...
Justin does not like it.
I was just thinking about that, and I was like, I don't want to even put it out in the universe because it's already going to happen. I have a feeling Wrecker's going to
Yeah,
be the
I've been
next to
thinking...
go.
Yeah, like which of the clones... I guess my question that I've been thinking of since the beginning is, which of the clones will survive? Like, who will it be at the very end? Like, who will the family of living beings be? I don't know. It's interesting if Crosshair is one of them because he has the most room to grow as a human in terms of, and just in terms of being a member of society. He doesn't really know how to do that.
I do like what Matthew put in the chat here. I don't want Crosshair to die, but I wonder if anyone will make it out alive or if they will all sacrifice themselves to stop or sabotage, I'm guessing, in some way, the cloning of Palpatine.
But the problem is that we know that he like basically succeeds, so that feels like very unsatisfying for the Bad Batch to kind of sacrifice themselves for something that we know didn't end up sabotaging. You know what I mean?
But do you think they will have to affect the plot of Star Wars as a whole in a major way in order for you to feel some sort of closure or satisfying ending to this? Or would it be sufficient if they simply either all lived or all died, but like kind of just went off the map, like decided to just
rode off into the sunset? I think
AWOL.
that'd be. I think there's a way that could be satisfying. It'd be in some ways hard to. I mean, in many ways, like the Bad Batch isn't particularly interested in fighting the Empire, like as a cause, and they've never have been. So it's not like Rebels, where the entire show is based on a group of people that is actively engaged in fighting the Empire, which, when you move into the original trilogy, begs the question of why you don't see them ever, and that's why they wrapped up a lot of their arcs that way. Because if it's a giant group of people that have been fighting the Empire, and then we don't see them during the major fights of the Empire during the original trilogy, you're like, where are they? But the Bad Batch, it's a little bit more believable that they would just be like, well, we're just gonna go live a nice peaceful life on this.
Plus, they have a shorter
island.
lifespan, so.
Yeah, that's true. So it wouldn't be unsatisfying to be like, where are they during the rest of the original trilogy? Because they kind of don't care about the Empire as I mean, it sounds like they care about the clones. That's what they care about. Like,
yes.
you know, and so I think maybe doing something in order to save and aid some of the some clones, I think might be a good way for them to go out. You know, either to go
or to bring
out
Hemlock
or
specifically. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. So we're having, there's some comments about, Crosshair comments about his theme. Crosshair used to have that heavy theme when he was doing anything particularly evil, which isn't being used anymore. True. I like both. And then here is Matthew's question, which is a big one that we discussed a couple seasons ago. There's the question of when did he get this chip out, that even when it was taken out, how much it still affected his behavior. And I just straight up think that, I think season 1 we learned that his chip had been out for a while.
yeah.
So it is him.
I like what Auric Font said about, I think that the story they're telling is really interesting to me from the perspective of having family members who support the rise of fascism and take longer than you would hope to come around.
This is
That kind
exactly what I was saying for season 1 as well.
Yeah, it's that's why I think, like, it's not like, I'm not even convinced that I can say that it's all his decision to do the bad things he does, because none of us are separate from the systems that we live in. We still exist in a system over which we have very little control, and the Empire is even more controlling than the systems that we're probably immersed. I mean, that's, you know, that's a whole nother discussion. But I guess I'm just saying that, like, I think Crosshair isn't even really that bad, because when you're raised being told something, it's a belief. It's really hard to change that. And so that's also why his story is really interesting, if he is one of the survivors, or if he does experience more belief changes as the time goes on, because
I'm recalling the season finale where I remember the conversation that really stood out for me was when Wrecker said, like, all that time you didn't even try to come back, we still would have taken you.
Right.
And then Wrecker still doesn't choose them. And I know that was a big point of, you know, obviously that's something that everyone's going to have some opinions about. And my take on that was that Wrecker is like a generous, like a person who likes, who really values harmony in the group. So he's like, Crosshair, we would have taken you back. Like, why didn't you? We still would have taken you. And to him, that is a good offer. He wants to go back to being a family, and he'd forgive Crosshair and look past their differences and extend an olive branch. And he thinks, like, what, Crosshair would be silly not to take our offer to welcome him back to the family. But to Crosshair at that time, that wasn't a great offer, because when he heard, like, we still would have taken you, he doesn't feel actually relieved or loved from that, because he, you know, there was the still of it, like, we still would have taken you even though you're fucked up. And Crosshair's need this whole time has been to be valued and accepted for who he is, whereas Wrecker wants unity, harmony, a family, and Crosshair, you know, wanted to go with the Empire because he perceived that the Empire was respecting him for his skill and, you know, going to take care of him because he's who he is. Whereas Wrecker wanted to take him back into the family for who he's not really. So taking him back to the family at that time 2 seasons ago wouldn't have solved his emotional need. And yeah, Tech had the best line that season finale, which was like, Crosshair has always been severe and unyielding. That's what Tech said. Even before the chip. And Tech at the time was the only person who could really see, this is just Crosshair's personality. It's just regardless of who he's fighting for. And so I think amongst the Bad Batch, the varying levels, like Crosshair stands out because he doesn't value the unity and harmony like the rest of them do. Right. Which doesn't mean that he wants to be cast out either. But yeah, I think about that a lot because I feel a little bit like Crosshair a lot. And I would have wanted to, in that moment, not just have an olive, like be invited back into the family, even though I've messed up. It would have been like, I would want to also be seen and valued for who I am, even though I'm severe and unyielding as well. And for that to still be okay as well. Not everyone has to be Wrecker or Hunter. Yeah. So I don't know where I was going with this. Oh, but I would not want to be given up on is the point of that.
Yeah, to like add a layer to what you just said, I think a great question for any, in terms of things. So a lot of times we learn and grow from the shows that we watch. And I think a good lesson for all of us to learn is how to embrace and love. I like to think of like I have a cat who's very soft, but like there's like porcupines and like spiky beings. And like, how do you learn to love like a spiky being that when you hug them, like sometimes it hurts? Actually, a cat is like that because now that I say it,
it's not too much of a stretch.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like, how do you love a being that when you hug them too much, mine at least viciously attacks me, and I think and it's just part of who they are. It's not an actual bad thing, which is why I think like Crosshair needing punishment is a bit of a stretch. Like, I almost feel like we could like not even use terminology like that. And it's like, how do you learn to love someone who is either really, really different from you, or like in the sense that like, how do you learn to love someone who's different from you? And if you're not, like, I feel like Wrecker and Omega are the two who are able to empathize and love lots of different people sort of unconditionally, but the other characters don't really have that capacity. Like, Hunter has to learn how to be trusting despite his strong protective instincts. And
that's Omega's secret Bad Batch talent, is the power of love. It's like Hunter's the tracker, Crosshair's the shooter, and Omega
the power of love.
The power of
heart,
friendship.
Remember season 1 when we thought like Omega's thing is going to be like the power of the crossbow?
That's right. We also thought that she had the Force for a hot second too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it turns out
it
was the friends we made along the way was Omega.
She does have the M count. Yeah. Okay. Right. So there's some good. So Jeannie says Crosshair has already done time as a prisoner. Arik Von's Ender is solidifying. I don't want Crosshair to die. I don't think his story is done. He needs to figure out who he is outside of being a sniper. We already read Matthews, and then Crosshair dying seems like a cliche story choice, which I assume the writers would be aware of, so they would purposely probably go against that story decision. And then I think it's...
you would think that, but...
Yeah, I know.
How many times have they shoehorned a giant monster into a way to create... It's like, what do we do to put these characters in some type of situation that makes them rely on each other and bond? I know, another freaking giant monster, okay? So
I think you wrote that line for Wrecker then, James, when he's running away. He's like, why is it always a giant monster?
Yeah, I know. I was thinking that. I almost said the same thing. And the funny thing is I'm watching, I'm rewatching Mandalorian right now, and I had just watched season 2, episode 1, which is the Crate Dragon.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
like,
Wait, I thought that was season 1. No, it was season 2.
No, that's the beginning of season 2.
Okay.
And it's so, it was like some of the mechanics of the worm versus the Crate Dragon. I'm like, I watched those 2 episodes a little bit in close proximity because I was like, because it makes it has the trail when it goes through the snow like over his back and everything like that. So I was like, what is going on with giant worm like dune creatures in Star Wars this week for me, So
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if that, Chuck. I definitely appreciate that is definitely a cliche story chairs. I wouldn't say that they're above that though. So the writers of the show, I don't think they're above it. So
Yeah, you're probably right.
yeah.
I have another example. Shall I?
Woo. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, please.
And I have to go a little after 1, so
Yeah,
so,
sure.
I'll just let
We'll
you
use
know
your
if I
window
have
for
to pop out.
comments. Okay. Okay. On brass, on trumpet. The beginning was supposed to be upbeat strings. Do, 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 do.
Play it again.
Okay. Do, 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 do.
Oh man. That's not that French horn thing at the end. Actually, I did want to note that there's this really nice kind of French horn moment that I thought was really some, I assume, actual French horn playing, but maybe not.
Actually, since James is going to leave soon, let's table this for a second. And James, you have the floor to give any thoughts or other things you wanted to point out.
Oh no, I don't have anything particular.
Okay.
I just
Okay.
So yeah, we don't.
Then
have
I'll
to
give
do
another
that,
hint,
but,
which is this happens a few seconds after.
Yeah, that's a good guess, Jeannie. That rings a bell.
Yes, Jeannie is correct. It's when Echo arrives.
Yeah.
Yep, it's Echo. I have tabulated your shooting accuracy, says AZ.
Yeah.
And then when when Omega runs to hug Echo, it's the. And then there's some Lydian stuff. More Lydian. Good job, Jeannie.
That's nice.
Nailed it.
Have we heard anything like that thematically anywhere in this show before?
I think so. But I don't know about exactly. I don't think exactly, but it's just very familiar chord progression, so it all kind of sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah,
Stuff like
I was
that.
gonna say it sounds like the Leia, Hera. What else? What other? Continuum, right?
Yeah.
Echo is now a part of that, but it's definitely Echo doesn't have his own music, right?
I don't think so.
Anywhere, I don't think so.
I think you're just supposed to sound like a pretty and, again, optimistic type of thing.
Yeah.
Also, actually, the first part, that reminded me of something, and I was like, I had to check the Young Jedi Adventures because it reminded me of that, but it wasn't that. So I'm like, maybe it's reminding me of something from another animated Star Wars show. But it reminds me of audiobook music for the High Republic. I will check on that later. Okay.
I was laughing about you recently about your what's the word? Random, not random, but what's the word for something that's not very mainstream or like
Niche.
Obscure, yeah, obscure niche, right? Obscure musical recollection, like, oh, that sounds like just like the theme from Splash Mountain, or like, excuse me. Only one person I know of has ever said anything like that. Like,
And
has
Justin.
ever quoted. Yeah,
He would know the Disneyland ones.
The two of you. Hey, I'm bringing
Every now and then.
my two nephews there for the first time. That my sister is flying out in April, and for the first time, bringing her kids on a plane, and we're gonna go to Disney.
Nice.
And I'm excited. I'm excited to re-experience the things, everything there through the eyes of a screaming, probably hot, hungry,
Sounds
and
fun.
miserable toddler. I'm sure I'll have a great time. But yeah.
I've experienced that
anyway.
once. My
You
godchild's
have?
first time at Disneyland, I demanded that I would go with them. Just I could be with the family, and that was a very
Yes.
fantastic, amazing. Like having a small child
Yeah.
see these things for the first time and get excited for a Baby Yoda doll was the most adorable thing. But there was a fun point where I let his mom and dad, you guys go have fun for a little bit. I'll take you guys go be you. I'll take care of the kid for a moment.
Yes.
And
That's nice.
I strollered him all around Star Wars Land. We're having a good time, and then had a moment where I was like, I have to use the restroom. What do I do with this child?
What do I do? What do I do?
Can somebody watch the child? It's not mine. It's okay. It's my friends. They'll be back. Let me just hold on to this child for me. Yeah, it was. I love that kid. It was a great
That's
time.
fun.
Very nice, Matthew. Which parks did you go to? Just curious. Anyone have other examples? There's also comments that I'll get to.
Yeah.
Cool.
Unless anybody else has one that they want to.
I have a ton, so go ahead.
Okay. Okay, let me see if I've got this. Shoop-a-doo-doo-doo-doo. Actually, and this leads into a whole fun musical section here. Let me see if I've got this. I think it's. Do you hear that? Is that coming in?
I can hear it. Mhm.
Oh, I think it's, sorry, Dan.
Whoa.
It's very brief. Very brief. I'll play it again. Sorry, my velocity is all off, so.
So there's latency.
No, there's they're all coming out at different volumes because I'm not a great keyboard player. I didn't turn the velocity off of my synth, so it all just plays the same volume.
It's it's when they go into the base or whatever it is, the outpost for the first time, right? And they're looking at the helmets on the floor, right?
Yeah, it's specifically that helmet part.
Yeah.
Ah,
Mhm.
yes.
Oh yes.
And
Did
Lisa had a
Jean
comment.
mention that? Or Lisa, yeah.
Right, and I was curious if that's what you were talking about because I don't remember Mayday's theme leitmotif, and if that was it, or was it? Because right after this whole musical section is really great because
What's the timestamp on that?
so that comes in that exact spot. Is around 11:30.
Right. Okay.
But this is coming from a whole musical chunk that really stuck out to me. 11:06 to 12:12.
Yeah.
Where a lot happens musically.
Yeah.
A lot happens. We go through 20 emotions in 2 seconds. It's great. Just the power of film score, I guess. Because after that comes this, if this is at all. Oh, no, I want that synth. There you are. Because after that comes this, more of a French horn, not a not a terrible sine tone, filtered saw wave, kind of a thing. Yes, it is when he's looking at the helmet. So that's a really interesting section because the first thing, they're in the base. We've heard Crosshair's theme on this also very like glassy glassy synths. It's harkening back to that episode, the specific Snow World episode of where Crosshair shoots the Imperial officer. I remember we were talking about wind sounds, such glassy sounding sound effects and synths and stuff like that. So right here, it's starting at 11:06. The first thing we hear is this very random harp that comes in. It was very like thrown off.
It's like
by this
two
harp.
plucks.
It gets like a little tiny melody for a second, and then it gets like, it sounds like kind of like, oh, this is pleasant, and then it gets creepy for a moment, and then we get into dark harp, and then a cello tremolo. You're like, what's happening? And then it gets into the synth strings and brass. It gets like actually right before there's like this like diminished brass, kind of imperialish brass moment. And we get into strings, and we hear this synth melody kind of a thing, and then this horn, strings, and trumpets, harkening back to clones and the triumphant kind of trumpet, that high trumpet that we heard all throughout Clone Wars and stuff like that. Yeah, this whole scene was great because you see Crosshair in a very weird way care about something.
Yeah.
Like,
And
really
I was hearing like a mixture of, and I wonder if this is the Mayday theme, but I was hearing a mixture of the Brother Crosshair theme, the Noble Clone theme, and the regular Bad Batch theme.
It was all of it. It was great, and it moves so quickly musically that it was very, very kind of jarring for a second. I had to go back and like keep re-listening to the section because you're and without watching either. I'm just listening to the music, and it goes so many different directions so quickly, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a cool
how that
part.
can happen. Also, right, just these helmets being arranged in such a way, it gives us the answer what happened to well, not exactly what happened, because I don't remember the worm in that others episode. They were trying to keep out the raiders, and then this got them, or didn't, or they who knows what happened to them. It's obviously assumed that they've passed away, but the just the emotion here and kind of remembering former glory in a weird way.
Yeah.
And along with like I lost my train of thought, but this section really stuck out to me. I think especially because right before this we hear again Crosshair's theme on a glassy kind of synth, and also Crosshair's theme in a way that we hadn't heard before when he puts the suit back on, and we hear his theme kind of triumphantly for a second. It's like, ha ha ha, it's Crosshair, you know, and it's like, you got the big brass underneath, it sounds like together, and then he sees the ice vulture bird, and then he gets sad again.
Oh, that was a good bird. That was a good bird.
That bird, the bird sparkles, the bird glass sparkles.
Very good bird.
Thing, which is great.
Did you all notice the Jurassic Park thing?
Yes! It was so classic.
What happened?
It was, okay. I was watching this with Ender, and I did not notice it, but he immediately caught this part where it's like, when they're running toward the worm, doing worm stuff, like they're priming the breaker. Like apparently, I'll show you like someone tweeted
exactly like the scene.
Someone tweeted like it looks like they intentionally like must have done a thing to, you know, like a purposeful homage thing. Prime the breaker, activate the perimeter.
Right. They do that a lot in this show. They harken back to a lot of like Spielberg.
True.
Like we talked about Indiana Jones in this like, many times.
Yeah.
But in this case, those notes seem to be directly borrowed from the carnivore theme from Jurassic Park, which is actually performed on shakuhachi at first. It's like, so it's a minor second, a major third down, and here they go. And the way that it comes out, like after listening to Jurassic Park and listening, I buy it. I definitely buy it, especially since in the context of all the other stuff.
I made a point to watch those scenes back to back. Like I went over to Netflix to watch Jurassic Park, to watch that part where they're like being hunted. We're going to, it's a great scene, like a classic throwback. And they are really quite similar, even in terms of the orchestration choices and the kind of overall like feel of the score.
Yeah, I didn't go back and actually watch Jurassic Park. And by the way, the credit for that that tweet, I'll put the full thing up. I did not make that image.
That's cool.
It's an Exploradora. Yeah. Do they use the carnivore theme in that sequence too? Do you remember?
I do not know.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know either. All I know is that it's in Jurassic Park in various parts. It's in the like every day I would watch Jurassic Park today. Okay.
Also, the hearkening wasn't hearkening. The reference wasn't just that they were doing the priming the breaker. It was also that there was a person on like walkie-talkie who was not there being like, okay, first you do this. Then you like, is that, I think that is where it like really connected, where it was like, okay, we've got a person who knows what's going on and then a person following those directions, and everybody doesn't know what's going on with the other group. And it was nice.
Ender, does the carnivore theme show up in the corresponding scene in Jurassic Park, or did you just recognize it from Jurassic Park in general? I thought it was very cool, and now it makes me want to go back to the Indiana Jones sounding things, and I don't know, discover whether they're more intentional homages or not. I could see it being either way, but anyway, Lisa has a question. What synth are you using, Justin, for that glass synth sound?
For the glass synth sound, I am using a synthesizer called the DeepMind 12. There's a synthesizer by the company called Behringer, or Behringer, depending on how you want to pronounce it. DeepMind 12 by Behringer. It's a great, affordable polyphonic, meaning multiple notes.
Just at the same time.
Synthesizers, yeah. Synthesizers. Once you get into buying synthesizers or getting into it, you learn that there's a monophonic and polyphonic synthesizers, and not all synthesizers can like play multiple notes at once based on the circuitry on the inside. Digital ones can, analog ones, they just need space, like physical space to do all those things, and has a great affordable polyphonic 12 note, only 12. You get 12 notes.
It's analog?
Two more than your fingers.
Well, 12 notes is all the notes in the 12-tone scale.
That is true.
Yeah.
There aren't any more notes.
No more notes. No more notes than 12.
Ever.
That's it.
No more notes.
All right, friends. I'm gonna run out for the day, but I'll see y'all next time. Okay.
Yes. Bye, James.
All right.
Bye,
y'all.
James.
Oh, good. He's gone. I'm just kidding.
Oh.
I need to reassign. I need to put Christina. No, I'm going to put Justin here.
Come back.
Christina.
Justin.
There we go.
Double Justin. Hey. All right. Our little notepad over here.
Double Justin.
Yeah. Okay. So some other comments that we haven't gotten to. Okay. This is kind of based on old parts of our conversation. Palpatine isn't fully successful in cloning a Force user until the sequel trilogy, and even then it's messed up. Point. Destroying Mount Tantus might set them back, so that Palpatine couldn't get a young clone body in the original trilogy timeframe. Also true. I think the Bad Batch are going to find it difficult on missions, especially without tech, who can bypass any Imperial security systems and analyze any Imperial intel. I actually do wonder if we'll notice more of the, like, I could see how they would just write the show so that the Bad Batch makes out successful either way. But it would be interesting to see more obvious instances of tech's absence, like them not being able to. We already are, right?
We are kind of seeing it, and I feel like they've all kind of put a little bit of their skill and abilities into Omega's training. So Omega's maybe not be tech level or any other Hunter's level or Wrecker's level or Echo's level yet, and she's starting to take an interest in what Crosshair does. I loved that moment, like, so what else can you do with this kind of a thing with sniping? And he's like, well, there's so much more. So she's going to start learning from him, but she kind of knows a little tech now. A little, not enough, but I think we'll find some great absence, though. I was surprised that they didn't. I mean, we obviously some time passed between the last episode and this episode, so I'm curious. I don't remember if Crosshair knew of Tech's passing in last season, if he had found out or not, or whether he would have just found out in meeting them again and saying, "Where's Tech?" And we just didn't see that reveal to him, you know.
It's a good question.
He did seem sad, though. Obviously, I think he's just,
the moment of silence.
Jeannie brought up that moment.
Yeah, I'm glad that they are continuing to remember Tech, because it doesn't always happen after Star Wars deaths. You kind of move on and whatever. But I like to see, and I've wanted this for I've wanted to see people mourn in Star Wars more realistically, slightly at least, rather than just like someone dies and then they're like very stoic and fine about it, it seems, and never mentioned again, rarely mentioned again. I do like how they're remembering Tech.
Yeah, that is really nice.
Do you think Tech will come back?
No.
Just curious.
I mean, would I be surprised if they found a way? No. Because that's just kind of how these shows work sometimes. Like, oh, let's just add he's back. Like, oh, he survived the fall into the chasm of nothingness. Great. I wouldn't be surprised. Do I want him to come back? Absolutely. Do I think it's better and more,
better if he stays dead?
I mean, better for the story and for the emotion and for just, reality.
And for
in the Star Wars
earning
universe.
back trust with Star Wars viewers.
Mm-hmm.
They need some more credit in the bank of trusting the storytelling. Because as it stands now, no one trusts when someone dies anymore.
No, but that's part of it too. So if he just kind of stays, that's good in a weird way.
Yeah. And it's the last season, so I feel like this would be a good one for them to decide to leave dead.
Yeah.
Anyway, Adult Omega returns in the live-action Star Wars with some skills of all of the Bad Batch. I love Tech, but to bring him back would feel kind of marvelly. Yeah. Here's another. Season 3 ends so that they all go to live a peaceful life on Pabu until Omega comes back. Yep. I would like that. What, Christina?
Do you think we will see Pabu be destroyed by Hemlock's fleet?
I don't want it to be.
What did you say?
Do you think we will see Pabu destroyed by Hemlock's fleet?
They're gonna find Pabu.
Possibly then. How
The other thing, I think it would be cool if all of those clones from the Icy World outpost are actually in Hemlock's. Like maybe they didn't die, maybe they were just taken to Hemlock's lab, and maybe there'll be some interesting scene where like Crosshair gets to like work with Mayday or someone and be like, oh, it's like when we were trapped in the cave. Uh, that would be cool, I guess.
Ziggy.
What do you think, Ziggy?
Ziggy doesn't want Pabu to be destroyed.
No.
Yeah,
She's
so we have
pro
some mixed.
Paradise.
I think Pabu will be invaded, but it won't be destroyed. I think the Pabu residents
I
have
like
what it
that
takes
idea.
to fight back. I guess that's where the Bad Batch can. That's like a new purpose for them. Maybe they'll become. Maybe one of them becomes mayor or something.
The
Serves on
protectors
the
of Pabu.
local government.
Yeah.
That'd be funny.
We have seen Pabu's resilience in the scene with the tsunami.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the groundwork for something like that is laid.
Yeah, but we also see how more in common with the Gungans than the Empire. A little bit, I think. But
They're very not Empire.
yeah, I have another example.
Let's hear it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, wrong clef. Nope, wrong clef. Sorry.
Tell us when you're starting.
Starting. Now flute. That's what it is. Oh, I wrote it wrong. That's the problem. And then cello. This is pretty disjointed. Okay, I'll recap in a second. Nope, this doesn't go low enough. I'll have to do it on piano. Sorry. Oh my god.
This is that one part.
I think I know which part it is too.
Nice. Just to clarify, the main melody here was this. And then repeated an octave higher. And then there's lots of string tremolo. And then the cello goes.
Right. The cello part, actually, Christina, you go.
Well, I guess,
You
yeah,
know.
my guess would be it's kind of in that time between 11 minutes, 30 seconds in, and my next note after that is not very clear. But I think it could be in that 11:30 to 12:15 time. I don't know. It reminded me of that part, which is, again, like close to where the clone helmets were happening, but a little bit after that, I think. And at least if it's the moment that I was thinking of, it was like there's kind of like a choir sound. Ziggy, did you have
Like the wind going, woo!
yes, we're here together. Yeah, it sound like at first I was like, ooh, what synth are they using? It's got a really nice spin sound, and I was like, oh, it's definitely one of those choir sounds, but like pitched in a strange way. And that was happening, and then there was a nice cello melody that then became like an octave higher, and then it was like very quietly doubled an octave up by maybe like a clarinet or an oboe. I'm not sure if it's the same moment, like for me to be describing it so specifically. And then
It's not, but I'm listening back to it now, and I'm still wondering if this is Mayday's theme. It's like, dee, 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 dee. It's kind of what Justin was also talking about. It's a very beautiful melody with cello, and then it gets echoed up higher in some sort of a wind instrument. Yeah. Dee, dee, dee. And I think the choir thing, it sounds like wind or something. It's like very high pitched. Ooh. Yeah. That wasn't it, but that was a good guess.
I'm so I wanted to say it's when the Crosshair and Hunter were arguing outside when Crosshair goes to check the perimeter. Because I know there was some like tension building music with some stuff going until we find out that there was a worm approaching. But now that the ending part, I have a very distinct vision of as the cellos do their da 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 kind of like little resolve. It's the door. Like we see the door when that happens. It's like the open door on the outside of the base, kind of a thing. Like I remember thinking, and cadence, or like and it's done. Kind of one of those like moments. But I can't pinpoint which door we're looking at. Like what point of the many times we see this door. That would be my guess.
Okay. Neither are correct. But it is when when Hunter is giving instructions and saying like Wrecker and Omega, you stay here, and Omega's like, we're finally together and you want to split us up? We just got you back. Or sorry, Echo is saying this. We just got you back. And then he's like, I'm not going to risk you getting captured again. Yeah, it's that part. And the part where it is, so I guess that's about 5:25. The first time, like when Omega kind of pushes back and goes like, she goes, yeah, we escaped, but I left all those clones behind. I need to do this, Hunter. Don't hold it again. I need to do this, Hunter. It's in flute when the melody is, in the flute when Omega is saying her piece. Yeah.
Yep.
And then the little cello thing afterward is just, I think, a cool transition. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I was thinking a very different part. Yep.
That makes me wonder if the theme is kind of Mayday's theme, but it also could kind of be like Clone Left Behind theme.
Yeah, maybe.
I wonder if
I need to hear it one more time somewhere.
We have to do a study of that, and then we can all report in next week.
Hopefully we hear it again so that we can narrow down like what exactly is the thematic part of it. Like what narratively it is doing. What the common threads are.
Slightly after the moment that you just used an example for, leading into the 7th minute of the episode, I really enjoyed that I thought, and I think that the soundtrack does this consistently, and it's one of the special things about Bad Batch is how well the music and the soundtrack blends with the ambient sound of the space that they're in. I really enjoyed when they arrive on the outpost planet, and it's like you can hear the sensors, but the pitch of the sensors and the way the sensor spins is super similar to how those synthy strings, the glassy synths were programmed, and I just thought they did a really nice job of blending those sounds and making it so that the boundary between them is unclear.
Yeah, I was noting, I think, the same exact thing. Yeah, I agree. No further.
I would even go so far as to say counterpoint between the ambient sounds and the soundtrack.
Interesting. Like,
So, and I would definitely go so far as to say counterpoint when we were in Hemlock's lab, having the confinement theme, and then also that machine, the testing machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that's very.
Do you want to explain what you mean by counterpoint?
Counterpoint comes from the phrase punta. Is it punto or punta a punta, or punto a punto, meaning point against point, point a against point, and it means that you. I should preface this by saying all of my concepts of theory I feel like are a little bit more abstract than some people. Than okay. Like for example, like others might agree, but yeah, I basically think anytime that there's a clear connection between so punta a punta, so 2 points, and they move in relationship to each other. That is counterpoint. What's a good way to say that? Like anytime you're noticing the relationship between 2 points, that's counterpoint in a very loose context.
Yeah.
In a very close context, you would have to say more like, oh, it's you can analyze that there was a clear choice to, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I think like a less I agree with what your concept, your definition. And then I'll add that it's what differentiates counterpoint from just melody and harmony, because that's also two things happening together, is that in melody and harmony, there's obviously one melody and one like supporting accompaniment. I guess that's what I meant to say. Melody accompaniment is that there's an obvious hierarchy, whereas in counterpoint, it's more like two or more individual lines of music or sound or whatever that have a relationship with one another, that end up crossing and forming, cool things together, but an emphasis on them being separate also. So what you're saying, like the track of the sound design, like the ambient stuff, and then the track of the music, that is contrapuntal to me because they're independently operating as well.
Absolutely. The phrase independently operating is important.
Jeannie asks, do the points answer each other? Oh, yeah. All right.
Sometimes, so I guess it would be a composer's choice. Do the points answer each other? They could. And they don't necessarily happen, so they can happen in parallel, but they are not always happening in parallel. In fact, sometimes we actually refer to things as like parallel motion would be when the 2 points happen to be doing the same thing. But then we also have a phrase called contrary motion, where they start at some interval from each other and then they move farther apart. And that would be counterpoint. Or you do an oblique motion, which is where one line is staying the same and the other line moves.
Yep.
And so we sense the relationship between those are kind of the three main types of counterpoint we talk about are parallel, contrary, and oblique.
Yeah, well stated. When Hemlock found Tech's goggles, I think Hemlock found Tech injured and took him back to Tantus and turned him into one of those clone assassins like the one seen in trailer in episode 3. Wait. I feel like I'm maybe skipping. Okay. I may be skipping some more context, but did I already post the comment about how Tech might... Oh, here we go. I have a theory that Tech comes back as one of those clone villains that is partly robotic.
Oh, no.
I know.
What if they have to... What if Crosshair has to kill Tech?
Again? Oh.
Like Tech is the bad... Oh my gosh, that would be awful.
Don't put it in the universe, Christina. Okay. I'm going to put up a transcription, actually, of the Omega Stay Here thing to see more clearly.
That's cool.
Yeah. Flute. Yeah. Anyone else have examples or music or sound to talk about?
I still find it really funny that the bird sparkles like glass. Like the glass, like there's like when the bird the ice vulture or whatever comes in, there's this very distinct tinkle, 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 tinkle of like glass as its like representation. And I'm want to know more about this bird and why it needs to be such a big metaphor for Crosshair.
Has it been identified yet?
I've just been calling it an ice vulture. It seems to be this like weird symbol or spirit or something. Like I'm starting to wonder if anyone else can see it besides Crosshair at this point, because he seems to have like this thing with it. It seems to either recognize him or it warns him or it's there and then it's walking away. Black ice vulture.
It first appeared in the Outpost episode, which was The Outpost
Which was that
was
episode?
the 12th episode of the second season. Oh, okay. Yes. The
right,
one
yeah,
where
that where Crosshair actually goes to this place for the first. That was all over the episode, and there was no. It never got super close. It was always in the distance, and
That's
Crosshair was
right.
always like, you know, it was always just there. And then this time we actually kind of get to see it a lot more up close. Of course, it was Deep Bradley.
Of course it was D. Bradley Baker.
Of course it was. He also voices Omega, if you've been wondering.
Wait, I do not like that this bird is non-sentient. What is the reference for that? I'm clicking.
Non-sentient?
Maybe just because we haven't
Who
seen it be sentient
determined
yet.
that?
What does that mean? Like, it doesn't think for itself? In this, I mean, that's what
Yeah,
non-sentient
in Star Wars,
means, but like, what is
something
like?
it's a long, it's such a big topic, but yeah, okay.
That isn't that a kind of common, I'm not going to go so far as to say trope, but a common nearly trope in, I mean, aren't snipers and birds considered to be very similar? And so then it occurred to me as you were speaking, Justin, that maybe Crosshair just like identifies with a bird who lives by himself on a mountain and looks at everything else but doesn't get to participate because he's just like a lonely bird on a mountain.
Ooh.
And then when you
Yeah.
said like, oh, we got to see the bird a bit more this time, it was closer but not quite close. That's kind of similar to how Crosshair is, you know, he made a joke about, you know, to Echo, you to give me a hug. Oh, there he is.
Mayday said they'd find a way to survive, so I think that it's a symbol of survival.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Survival, Sam Eagle, one of those.
Survival, Sam Eagles.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it is pretty funny.
If the Muppets ever did, like, I could see them doing, that would be pretty funny. The Muppets just doing Star Wars and then referencing the scene, and there he is just walks off.
Were there any Star Wars references in the Muppets Mark Hamill episode?
Oh, of the Muppet Show? Probably.
Well, they have that whole.
I don't remember them, but
they have that whole pigs in space thing, running gag in the Muppet Show, where it's Miss Piggy and the other pig characters, and they have a show called Pigs in Space. So they're making fun of all the Star Treks and Star Wars and all the things.
All equally likely symbolism, yes. Sam Eagle is also like, not that I'm taking the Sam Eagle thing seriously, but also Empire, USA, I don't know.
Yeah, the whole
Is still watching, like he's still feeling the shadow of the Empire, perhaps. Anyway, I have one. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say what was interesting is, well, his when he's talking to Hunter about what happened. You know, that confrontation scene was great, where he just kind of says, "I killed an Imperial officer because they betrayed me, like I betrayed you, and I betrayed them, and we all betrayed each other, and everything sucks, but it's all your fault, Hunter." not specifically that, but that was a tough swallow for Hunter for a moment, where Crosshair's like, I tried to help, which was a little too late, admittedly, but he tried to help, and he, you know, had a change of heart at the last second there and sent that message. Got caught, got captured, got tortured. And then later for him to finally say, I think I was wrong. It was almost like, he didn't quite say I'm sorry, but it was kind of like, I probably wasn't thinking the best when I went to the Empire. And Hunter's like, yeah, we all make mistakes.
Yeah, that conversation was, I found it kind of vague, and that was fine, I guess. But the way that Hunter did immediately, like all he needed, it seemed like all Hunter really wanted was Crosshair kind of to giving him something, and then he was ready to forgive him. at least for
He
now.
needed to do something to make him trust.
Yeah,
Make
yeah,
him
yeah.
trust him again, kind of a thing, which was saving him in this case. I liked that. What Echo says, like, see, told you they'd work it out. Less blood this time. Great, they're improving, which
Yeah.
makes me want to imagine all the times they've argued in the past and have just beat each other up and then said, whatever. We're cool now.
I like Jeannie's comment. I think the ice vulture was the old Crosshair, a vicious creature who would do anything to survive. And when he put on his old armor and made up with Hunter, the bird flies off.
I think that's beautiful.
More Muppet confirmation. The Muppets did do a Star Wars spoof after the first movie came out. Gonzo was Darth Nader or something like that. And then Sesame Street, which, Muppets, same thing, did a Star Wars parody a few years ago. Cool.
That'd be a fun Friends of Xanthe watch series. Would be like a collection of Star Wars parodies.
Ooh, that is a really good
like
idea.
as a movie night, but like a series of like Star Wars
Have you ever
parodies. That'd be
seen
fun.
the one I remember from my youth was Thumb Wars? You ever watch Thumb Wars?
No.
No? Oh, it was this wonderful parody. They did a couple things. I can't
Wait, is it the
remember
one? Is it the one that The Last Jedi spoofed, or like with the iron?
Maybe it was basically. I think it was a New Hope or something like that, and everybody like everything was.
I'm thinking of Hardware Wars.
No, everything was like all the characters were like literal thumbs, just like up on the screen, and then they like superimposed people's faces onto the thumbs, and then just acted out Star Wars. It's great.
Yeah.
I'll try and find it and link it to everybody. That was a classic.
Oh, Ender watched Thumb Wars.
Yeah. The
Which
Phantom
is different.
Cuticle. That's what it was called.
The Phantom Cuticle.
Thumb Wars. Phantom Cuticle.
Yeah, that's Hardware Wars.
Phantom Cuticle.
1999.
Yeah, I like.
The Family Guy Star Wars spoofs. Those ones are good.
Never seen
Oh,
it.
great. Blue Harvest. The Family Guy spoofs are great. They do all three of the originals, and it's pretty fantastic. Actually, they do it pretty well.
I have 2 more musical things to do. Okay.
Let's hear 'em.
Yeah. This is gonna be an easy one, I think. Good old ostinato.
Worm attack.
Yeah.
Worm attack.
Yep.
Action music, tremolo, 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 bass.
It's actually this is a measured tremolo,
Stab.
which is a tremolo is when you just go all out as fast as you can. And it would normally be written with like 3 slashes in the stem. Here there's only 1 slash in the stem, so it's a measured tremolo, which means it is rhythmically even. So here there are 8th notes, and because there's 1 slash, that means you divide the 8th note in half. So it's a faster way to write 16th notes. So it's 2 16th notes, 2 16th notes, 2 16th notes. So it's a... And like
Have you
also,
ever seen that with like 2 dots on top too?
I was just
to
going to say,
represent?
you can also do it with dots on top.
To show how many per kind of a thing. Yeah, I've seen that too.
And if you're like lazy and you're just writing, or you're pressed for time, and you know you're going to have like 2 bars of just 8th notes of the same note, you could just write like a whole note and then like the 8 dots, and the player will know to do that same note but 8 8th notes. Yeah, to fill up the bar with 8th notes.
Ooh, I've never seen that one.
Interesting.
Yeah. It can be helpful if you're reading music where when you have a lot of repetitive parts, it can be easy to get lost where you are, and it's no longer necessary if you're repeating exactly. It's no longer necessary to see it all written out, because then you kind of space out. So then it's easier to condense the information into just 1 note per bar, so you only have to focus on like this bar. So you start counting in bigger blocks instead of like 1,
Right.
2, 3. Yeah, which is
That's wise.
yeah.
It's kind of the mindset when you perform highly minimalistic music from like the 70s and the 80s, kind of a thing, where it's just constant eighth notes or arpeggios, and they just kind of write the arpeggio and say
Philip Glass.
forever and like write a line, and you're like, all right, times 68.
I don't-
You're like, let's do this.
And in pieces like that, like the notes are not the hardest part of performing those pieces is just making sure you're alert, aware, noticing when it's time to change. That's the most stressful part, is just making sure you don't space out. Oh God. Yeah.
Yep.
Stills from that Muppet episode show Hamill in his Empire Strikes Back Cloud City costume, which would mean the Muppet Show debuted Leia's outfit. Oh, Luke's outfit 5 minutes, months before the theatrical
cool.
release of Empire Strikes Back. Ah, interesting insight.
Cool.
Well, that's funny because they had, wasn't that the also the movie that they released the book before the movie came out and spoiled the twist of Darth Vader being.
I think that
Luke's,
was Star Wars: A New Hope, or Star Wars.
No, I thought the official novelization to Empire Strikes Back came out before the movie came out, and people who read it like accidentally found out ahead of time before the actual movie came out. I'm pretty sure that was
That's wild.
What happened, and just completely like upended that reveal.
And only because of pre-internetness, probably did it not spread to
Exactly.
everyone immediately.
Exactly.
That's the Marvel comics spoiled Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, that's what it was.
Wow.
Okay. Marvel comic. I can't remember. I thought it was the novelization, but it was some printed material that people got their hands on. They're like, what? You know, and then, you know.
Wow. The Brother Crosshair theme at the end. Did you hear what instrument that was? What do you think that was?
At the very, very
It sounded
end,
like a nickel harp or hurdy-gurdy.
Yeah, it sounded like a very thin sounding string instrument, very nasally. I thought for a second it was like, oh, that's like a fiddle, I wanted to say. It sounded a little bit more rustic than like a classical violin.
Rustic, for sure.
Yeah, rustic for me meaning just like not refined and just very like raw sounding as an instrument.
No
in
vibrato.
itself. No vibrato.
Do you have a minute cue?
Yeah,
At
it
the
was
very
24
end, let's see.
something. I'll tell you in a second. 20.
And it kind of gets buried.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm listening back. It's like the very last thing, I think.
Bird screeches.
Bird screeches.
2441. 2441.
It's like, or 2439.
I would call that a hurdy-gurdy sounding. I
Yeah.
love hurdy-gurdies.
It does sound very hurdy-gurdy like. Maybe we should.
Got a picture of a hurdy-gurdy?
Oh, yeah, good call. Yeah. Hurdy-gurdy.
I'll post the link to Wiki for people's read.
So there's a crank on the instrument, and it sounds like it. It sounds like it's being played by something with a crank. I don't know. I don't know why it sounds like that, but it does. They're
The
super
timbre
cool.
that first came to mind, even though it seems like we're kind of going in a string instrument direction, is it reminds me of a string where it's played no vibrato, but it also reminds me of a muted trumpet. A
Oh,
little
interesting.
bit. Also no vibrato.
Huh. Is everyone familiar with the hurdy-gurdy in the chat? With what they sound like? Maybe it's possible that not. I'll find some audio, but continue, Christina.
Good. I just saw Lisa's comment about
Oh.
with Ron.
Oh, good. Oh, good. We need some Thrawn here. Okay, hurdy-gurdy.
I would
All
love
right, we have
animated
some-
Thrawn to come back.
We haven't mentioned Thrawn yet this episode.
I thought she. Okay.
Oh,
Here
did
we
he?
go.
I missed
No, we
it.
didn't. But I'm about to put some hurdy-gurdy sounds here.
Put that hurdy-gurdy down.
That's not it.
Play the hurdy-gurdy.
Here we go. There. That's in case. In case that's
For
covered.
those looking at it, at the picture, or want to know, it's a string instrument that has keys to hold down the strings, and then to play continuously, you actually crank it, a little wheel that's rosined in such a way that when you press down the keys, they'll hit the no, it's always playing the strings. All the strings are being played at the same time, so you get a drone underneath, just a na underneath, and then you can press the keys to like change the notes. It's such a cool instrument. Imperial
Nice.
March hurdy-gurdy, yes.
I like that.
So yeah, I'm curious. Anyway, does anyone in chat? Oh wait, let's do the Thrawn comment. When the Emperor made a cameo appearance in Episode 3, people have been saying that Grand Admiral Thrawn is making a cameo appearance in the upcoming episodes.
Cool.
I'm trying to think of the timeline.
There is the strange Thrawn Tantus connection.
Yeah.
A young Thrawn? Baby Thrawn?
Baby Thrawn. Oh, we still need a Baby Thrawn
Baby
book.
Thrawn.
We need a Baby Thrawn book.
Baby Thrawn?
I would like a Baby Thrawn book. Yeah, I do.
Jedi. Well, maybe he'll appear in that was it Jedi Adventures, or the youth. What's the one with the kids right now?
Young Jedi
That
Adventures.
animated show. Yeah, Young Jedi Adventures. They'll face Baby Thrawn in that someday.
And it'll be super cute. Oh, next week is a double episode. Okay. Yep, that's right. So next week we'll
Yes.
talk about 2 episodes. Any final comments about stuff? Okay. My nephew said that he saw something that suggested Vader might show up. But he also said it might have some bozo showing him something.
Oh.
I would welcome this, but I think he was busy tormenting Eli. Any final thoughts,
There's a
friends?
really small moment that I enjoyed, which is just I enjoyed that there was a around like 10 minutes in when I think you even had an example from around there, like when the nice open string chords are playing and we hear the sensors, but I just enjoyed that one of the sensor sounds is replicable with the voice via the pigeon coo sound. There's a pigeon coo sensor right there at 10 minutes in where it's just that was nice.
I don't know if I can do that.
It's a D and a B for the most part. I remember I was listening to when I was figuring out the frequency, I was like, what else is going on there? It's like this like weird like D and B kind of thing.
I don't know.
But yes, they
It
have
was
a nice cool. I
I
really
really liked
enjoyed the sound of them shutting down. It was really cool. It was very multi-layered, multifaceted. And then charging up, it wasn't that exciting, but they were fine. It was interesting though, again, that this high pitch bugged Batcher. And then sometimes it was, and that this is movie magic, everybody, because like sometimes we could hear the pitch, sometimes we couldn't hear the pitch because it would just be obnoxious to constantly have that pitch being in there. But it's like the pitch was present, the high frequency was present when it needed to be present, but when we didn't want to listen to it, we just like
Yeah. And that goes back to we were talking about this in an earlier episode, kind of the subjective nature of layering sound design. Yeah, like revealing portions when it's appropriate, but so we don't overload like viewers with having to hear everything literally there all at the same time. Yeah.
Speaking of not having everything there at the same time, one of the successful things about this episode, I think, was from the time that they decide they're going to the planet for a pretty long time, they really don't have a lot of dialogue. There's just a little bit of text here and there, and the music really gets to take the front row, and
Yes,
we're
that like so much
watching
silence
Crosshair
there.
do things with helmets. We're not hearing Crosshair talk about the helmets. Yeah.
Yes, I really liked that too. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, it's so much of no music. Once they get around 5:35 or 3, like around the 4 minutes or something. Yeah, lots of good space there.
Yeah, and I've always thought space was a good thing, and there have been instances where I was like, wow, there's really too much space in this or that show. And this was a successful use of space.
Oh, good. That's about all my notes for today.
I think that's all I got for this one.
Cool. Looking forward to the next 2. What are they called? The next 2 episodes. Actually, I haven't checked. You could see my thumbnail was completely off, like, because I make the thumbnails, before I've seen the episode, so I just put one that I know is that I know is in the show, and we'll see.
I clicked on it today, and I was like, oh,
Wait,
what does Bella say in this episode? Oh, well.
Yeah. So I'm like, what am I going to do for the next stream? Do I dare do, I feel like putting Ventress or something would be too...
Yeah,
this is not a spoiler. I don't know anything. Just guessing. Put Thrawn on the next one.
Yeah, just put
that would be funny.
Yeah.
Nalase's datapad was in this episode.
I thought,
That was a really good gift on Nalase's part.
Yes. Very good. Well, I think we are done for this episode review. Thanks for joining us in the chat. Lots of good comments and lots of good discussion. Christina, Justin, have anything left or?
that's all I got for today.
It was
Thank
great
you so much
to
for coming out,
discuss
everybody.
it with all of you in the chat
Yay.
and here in video.
Awesome. Well, we will see you all next week. Same time, I believe. And we'll talk about the next 2 episodes.
There we are.
Yeah. All right.